Good day, and welcome to episode 31 of the Aaron Wayne podcast.
Natural beauty.
Here we go, guys. Good conversation with my lady about how accessible outdoor spaces should be, a review of our trip so far, and the big takeaways of how you can go into a space and actually enjoy it and respect the people that live there. Here we go.
You look more and more like John Krasinski every day.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Your nose just seems very defined lately.
Got a big schnoz on me?
It's kind of hot.
You like it?
Kind of into it.
Big Krasinski nose?
Yeah.
Krasinski in The Office or in
like when he's
Jack
really
Reacher?
muscular.
Hey.
I don't think it's Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher? I think it is.
No.
Jack Preacher?
No.
Jack Teacher?
No. You're just wrong.
I'm a jacked teacher.
Oh my gosh. Dad joke.
Total dad joke.
This off-brand seltzer.
The seltzer water, those seltzer waters look like...
It's not as good as the Kroger brand.
They look like they were made in someone's garage. How does it taste?
Yeah, but it's okay. Like the LaCroix are definitely better, but they're
I'm honestly
really expensive here.
I'm honestly not a huge fan of LaCroix when compared to the Kroger ones.
Well, that's because you like to chug them, and LaCroix is meant for fine tastes.
So I don't have fine taste.
No, your tastes are a little trashy.
Trashy taste. And what
You really like chips.
I love chips.
You eat a lot of chips.
Yeah.
I've never met someone who eats as much chips and just bread.
Have you met someone who you've
you
spent more time
eat
with?
Bread with just salsa. Who does that?
I did that the other day. I did that after Tahoe.
It was in the morning. It was 8 a.m. and you were eating pita bread and just dunking it, pouring salsa on top.
I had an appetite. It was good salsa. It was good pita.
It was store brand salsa.
But it tasted good.
No, it didn't.
It didn't have to have a name like La Croix for it to be good.
I miss tostadas. I was thinking today, we've done really good with not eating, fake meats.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just took, us living in a van for me to get the fake meats away from you. But I actually was ooh, I would really love, a hamburger. A
Beyond Burger?
Yeah.
We could do Beyond Burgers.
No, we've got to get through what we have right now.
It won't take long. It's a small fridge.
True. Although I did stock us up.
We got stocked up pretty good with our off-brand Celsi waters.
The blood orange is not great.
No bueno.
It's medium.
Speaking of no bueno, we tried to record a podcast with my friend Tucker.
It didn't work out.
It didn't work. It just didn't shake out.
The world will never hear it.
The world will never hear it.
Sorry, guys.
If you want to hear it, tell me, and I probably still won't show it to you. But
it's specifically embarrassing for you.
It was a ridiculous podcast. I think it was interesting. I was thinking about that today when I decided that we needed to get a podcast. So one of the things I'm realizing is we need to get, we got caught without service for an extended period of time. And so the podcast that was supposed to go up on Monday went up
now you're we have
2 days ago.
We have to catch up.
So now what I want to do is I want to have podcasts banked, you know what I mean? Just in case I can't.
They like live action.
Live action. Well, the podcast that I posted was a week old.
Caught up with us, yeah.
Yeah.
But
they're still chronological.
We parked at 2 p.m.
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine. We had more of a drive than I thought.
We're really tired. I'm really tired.
The drive that we did was pretty exhausting.
I've hit a wall.
It was exhausting for me because it was one of the sketchiest drives. I drove for 8 miles on that crazy backcountry road.
That was a bad idea as soon as the GPS said that, but you didn't make any changes. You just told me I was being...
What would the other option have been?
I was being silly.
I didn't say that.
No, you said other things.
What did I say?
I'm not going to say it.
Did I say something rude?
It's a PG podcast.
Oh, I used explicatives?
Explicit content.
Explicit content.
But we made it. We're at the coast. Holla at the West Coast.
We finally made it to the coast. It was kind of cool because we're in Redwood State Park right now, which is a state park but also a national park,
but it's also right
peculiar.
off the road. It's very confusing.
On the mics, I don't think you can hear it, but I can hear traffic from the 101.
The beach is also right there.
The ocean,
literally, yeah, the ocean. It's
if you're watching this on YouTube, I framed this so that you could see the beach but it's very foggy, so you can't see it. But we can see it with our eyes.
We can see it with our eyes.
With my eyes. And I'm like in a bed of wildflowers.
You are in a lot of wildflowers.
Is this a good shot, Katie?
It's a good, I know.
Like
I should
bathing
take a
in the
picture.
wildflowers?
I'll take a picture before we're done. Yeah. But I think I'm tired. I feel tired.
Some of those drives, that are like, sometimes I feel.
They're long sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes the drives are a bit long, but I think that it's especially, on my part as the driver, it's especially challenging when the drives are very windy, uphill, downhill.
Yeah, you had a bad drive today.
And then that was the paved
like
roads, and then we got on that unpaved road for 7 or 8 miles, which took 40 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah,
I read like half my book.
On a very rough road.
Yeah.
Which is just hard to manage. And then I've been noticing that like some of the spots where I used my nail gun instead of screws, like some of the things I'm gonna have to do some like actual fixes, like some of the shiplap the shiplap's not glued because the shiplap like grooves into itself, like there's like, it's called tongue and groove, and so like you have, or no, it's not tongue and groove, it's a dovetail. I think is what shiplap this particular one works. No, it's not a dovetail. What is it called?
I think it's tongue and groove.
It's not tongue and groove.
Do you think we're gonna get a sentient even though there's like overcast?
Well, we're pulling in amps on the solar panels.
I know. I'm worried.
We're pulling in
a
like.
hat.
I think you'd be okay. Do you want to grab a hat?
No, it's okay. It's also really chilly here. It's like
65.
So I have on like a sweater.
We went to the beach and it was very chilly.
Yeah, we walked down to the beach and it was like cold, which you're just not used to on the East Coast. I guess because we don't live. I think if we lived on the coast, then we'd be used to walking on the beach when it's chilly.
I suppose, but it's also
it's
almost July. So
I don't think it really gets hot here.
No, it definitely gets hot. I think we're just on a foggy day.
No, I think it's foggy a lot of the summer from what I've been researching.
So that well, and if you think about having been in the Bay in the Bay Area.
Yeah, we were in the Bay Area in like July for our honeymoon and it was cold, like chilly. I wore like cardigans the whole time.
It was surprisingly cold. Luckily we have a whole van full of like cardigan phase. Hard cardigan phase. Cardigan phase. When we were driving on that backcountry road, do you remember watching that documentary on Netflix called like Searching for Bigfoot or something like that?
Yeah.
And it wasn't actually about Bigfoot. It was about some murders that some drug dealers.
We didn't finish that though.
Well, I think we got the point of it.
We need to catch up on our TV. There's like a movie out that I want to watch. Like there's so many things that that Liza Schlesinger did.
Oh, so
it's on Netflix now.
We listened to her on Rogan,
and it's out.
And she was talking. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Okay, we can watch that. We have enough signal. So that's the cool thing about like. Yeah. Sometimes you find a camp spot. It's got. We watched Bo Burnham special.
We watched it in Phoenix, but we were in like a hotel, and then we watched it one time in the van when we had service. We watched some YouTubers,
some van life YouTubers that we like.
When I got the pukes,
when you were upset, your stomach was upset.
So 3 times, yeah, and I watched TV that night too because I. Just thinking about it makes me feel sick. So 3 times, and it's been 4 weeks. Where I think that's part of why I'm tired. Is like I've been doing.
You're living so much life.
Yeah, and like if you think about it, normally like you do something for a weekend.
All right, Crow.
But then like you take a day and you like recuperate. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why am I so tired? But then thinking about it, when we were in Yosemite, like we were going hard every single day. Like
we were doing
big
like
hikes,
5 to 8 mile hikes every day.
Then going down to like where the water was, and
then sitting in the sun, just baking in the sun.
Just no break.
Is my face still red?
A little. Not bad. You're okay.
That's good.
I mean, I think Woodcroft Safeway, they could improve their signature select.
There's Solia. What is it?
I think it's like Soleil.
Swala.
No, it's not Swola.
Yosemite was insane though. The only thing that I feel like I have left on the table for Yosemite is hiking up Half Dome.
Where did we leave off on the podcast talking about like where were we at?
I
told
actually
you we needed my notes.
No. I just edited the video last night.
Okay.
And once we have, I don't think I could upload it. I think it would be reckless to upload it on our cell signal. So we have to find Wi-Fi at a coffee shop. But we have a travel day tomorrow too. So we left off.
It's a short travel day. It's like 3.5 hours.
Okay. But we left off. We were right outside of Yosemite in that spot that was like a it's like a dirt bike staging area where we saw that guy riding his four-wheeler up and down the hill.
Was that outside of Yosemite?
It was right outside of Yosemite.
We spent so much time in Yosemite.
We spent big days in Yosemite.
I think that was outside of Kings Canyon.
That's the last no, because I said it. Because I said it in the podcast. I was editing it last night. So that's where we left off.
Yeah, and we spent 3 days.
So we haven't talked about Yosemite. Yosemite was...
It was crazy.
It was really bonkers.
It was so fun.
And the thing that I really enjoyed about this trip that we did, because it's our second time to Yosemite, and we're definitely going back. Because like I said, we didn't. But
I want our kid to be old enough. I need like a kid with like the parentheses S. Mm-hmm. Because who knows? To be old enough to really like experience it. Like I want them to be able to like hike with us and enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. It's hard because I feel like I don't know if our friends with kids think about this yet, but like I want them to remember it. But in order for them to remember it, I've got to wait to do cool stuff until they're like 7 or 8.
Luckily, we have a lot of cool stuff on the East Coast and in Appalachia to do to like train them for it.
To train and kind of get them like I want them to be prepared for like longer hikes and like because you see these kids like we saw these kids in Yosemite and like they're just not used to it because they've been playing video games or hanging out at home and like they haven't been outside.
They're just squatting under a tree like pissed off that their mom took their Nintendo DS from them.
Yeah, like all of a sudden they're forced to be outside and they're like, wait, what is this? Mm-hmm. Which is no fault of their own. Like they haven't learned it. Mm-hmm. It's like a learned, I mean, we were saying it took me like the past 7 years to get used to like what it's like
walking
to travel
on rocks.
Outside. Not just walking, you know what I mean.
No, like
I do more than walk on rocks.
No, but like when you go on a hike, there are spots where it's precarious and you have to pay attention to where you're stepping.
That sounds bigger than walking on rocks.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, the only thing that I feel is left on the table for me at Yosemite is Half Dome, and so the reason that we didn't end up hiking Half Dome, and anybody that's listening, just Google Half Dome hike. It's more
than a hike, yeah.
You have to get like special permits for it, and you enter a lottery for it, and I didn't want to enter a lottery.
You either have to sign up like way ahead of time, or you enter a lottery. All the like things for Yosemite were funny. It's like these random days. Like we had to get tickets like a week before and they dropped at this time.
Yeah.
But for the lottery it was like 2 days before and it's only open between this time and this time.
Right.
And you have to pay for the lottery even if you don't get chosen for the lottery, and then you have to pay again if you do get chosen.
Right. So that's why we didn't do Half Dome. But the rest of the thing I really enjoyed about this trip to Yosemite was that the first time we went, we focused primarily on the valley, which is like where the main like focal point of Yosemite is. That's where you can see a view of Half Dome. You can see a view of Cap. You can see the river goes through, or the creek goes. I guess that's a creek.
River goes through.
I guess I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, like for someone who spends as much time as I do outdoors, I don't know the distinction.
Creeks are smaller.
Well, that's definitely true, but like I still don't know because like sometimes
I think that was a creek.
There's a little creek.
I think that was a creek.
But it probably has something to do with what feeds into what.
One was a...
It's probably a creek because it isn't fed by a river.
Lake? Wasn't there a lake?
Yeah, we went to Cathedral, which was a picnic area.
Was a lake.
There's a Cathedral Lake, but we didn't go to that.
Okay.
That was in the...
So what I really liked about Yosemite, and which I would like to do something similar, I'm trying to move our time frames around so that we can be in, like, we're going Oregon coast, but like the big thing we want to do in the Oregon coast is Coos Bay. Mm-hmm. So like I would like to move our schedule around so that we have a longer chunk of time in certain areas that we really want to explore. Right. Because I enjoyed having like a big hike, and then we would have lunch, and then we would like hang out in one area, like a lake or something like that. And then we would get to camp, and we would have time to like make dinner and hang out. I really enjoyed that, and not like the just like go from one place drive.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about when I was taking notes for the podcast is how challenging it is to have any sort of routine. So like some of the podcasts that I've been listening to on the road, because we're not driving an insane amount.
No.
Like at this point we're out west. There's far more to explore. So you look
a lot like John Krasinski right now.
Is that I'm not sure if you're complimenting.
I think he's handsome.
He is a handsome fella. He is a handsome devil. I could go for Krasinski.
Let us know what you think.
You're watching this on YouTube.
Don't do eyebrows like that. Oh my gosh. Okay, but
does he do eyebrow stuff?
You can't probably.
I have no idea what I was saying. I lost my train of thought.
You don't have a schedule.
Oh yeah, so a lot of the podcasts I listen to are just sort of free-form conversations. I listen to a couple of like the podcast, like the daily, like different things. What? Is that funny? What's funny?
It made me think you like started talking and I feel like you didn't know where you were going. So you were like,
well, now I definitely don't know where I'm going because you interrupted
me. When he's like, sometimes I start talking.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I'm gonna end up.
I think one of the really useful things about the way that I think and the way that I talk is that I don't always know where I'm going, and I'm just sort of exploring it.
Yeah, you're really good at just like keep continuing to talk until you get somewhere.
The way you phrase that sounds negative, but I think it's a real strength.
I think it is a strength. Okay. I agree.
You're like, you just talk until
I'm so tired.
You actually
say
something.
Delirious with sleep.
Really?
Sleepiness.
What was I talking about?
So we can't get on
routine and procedures.
Routine.
So it's a lot of the podcasts I listen to, they like I listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast, which I was listening to, and actually while we were driving,
you're like talking about routines.
You were like, I don't really want to listen to this. I don't have a routine. And then I was reflecting on over the last. So this happens every time we do a trip like this, where we get 3 to 4 weeks in, and I start thinking it's actually kind of nice to just live a normal life.
Yeah, I found
where you wake up at a time, you have extremely clear schedule.
Well, and I just found myself like thinking about home and like I don't know, it's different. Like you have a whole house.
I don't think that I envy in any way. I think I enjoy, like I could do this all the time. I could 100% live in a van full time. The thing that I find nice about being in a stationary place is that you have a very clear schedule.
That is.
And then you can optimize that schedule therein, and you can feel a sense of accomplishment in
small tasks.
Yeah, and like, I made it. I did a 90-minute run today, and I still had time to take care of my emails. I called a friend, and I made dinner, and mowed the lawn.
That's
like
a lot
that.
Of things.
I know, but that's like but you can't really
that's
optimize in that
day,
way.
Yeah.
For
it's
this
like
kind of thing.
I drove to this place, and it's
I have no idea where I'm driving to tomorrow.
That it's like we're going to Coos Bay
tomorrow.
Yeah. We have some like other things along the way, but the drive from here to Coos Bay is 3.5 hours. So I figure like if we want to see those things, we can just stop along the way.
Also, you have to reflect on, so like the thing that I've been doing that's slightly different than how you've been looking for distances between places is trying to find things to do on the way. So it's not just about drives. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like it'll probably take longer than that because we're going to go through a couple state parks. And
Otter Point,
I looked at the state park. It's called Jedediah Smith.
Oh, I saw that.
Park.
What did you see about that?
That is where we saw the redwoods for the first time.
No.
Yeah, because I knew it was a name, a very peculiar name.
Do we want to go back there?
We've
been there, though.
We could. It was cool trees. Well, also,
cool, we've been there.
Also, I don't know. I think we're just gonna be taking the 101 straight up. Like we're gonna go, so all the way through until Klamath.
There's Gold
Del
Beach.
Norte Coast, Redwood State Park.
Oh, I didn't see
Jedediah Smith is right off the 101. I mean, we're going to take the 101 all the way up.
Gold Beach is there,
Lake
and
Earl.
There's something called, like, Otter Point. Mm-hmm. But I think what I need you to do, because I was talking about how I wanted to plan before we did the podcast, and you won. But I want to look at, like, where are good camping places. Like, if you don't want to do the whole 3.5 hours tomorrow,
right?
Then what would be a good stopping point?
Yeah.
So that we can, because like we're resting today, so I have a feeling we'll want to get some movement in tomorrow.
I might go for a run on this road. That's another thing I was thinking about. So I was, what's that?
Just kidding. I'm challenging you.
I know you're pushing at me today.
I like it.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
What do you like about that?
Enough.
I don't get challenged enough?
No.
Who do you think challenges me in my life?
No one.
You
Occasionally me, but every time I do it, it bothers you.
You think?
I think so, yeah. But like people don't really like. I don't know.
Who challenges you in life?
You. all the time.
Yeah.
But I've learned how to take it.
What do you mean by challenging?
I don't know. Like, you push me, but also, like, you call me on things that I'm doing. But, like, I've learned how to take that because it's been so prevalent.
Do you think I should be reaching out to find someone to challenge me?
I'm trying to be that person.
Go ahead, girl.
But you just have to take it.
I gotta take it? Just take it.
Just take it.
Back to my point about Yosemite. We didn't do Half Dome, but there were some really insane spots.
Yeah, we did like 3 really cool hikes.
We went to Dewey Point. So like again, back to the point I was saying earlier, we spent most of our time the first time we were in Yosemite exploring the valley, but Yosemite is massive.
It's huge.
And
There's so many sides and
it has these different regions to it. And so we intentionally went into Yosemite through the southern entrance. Was it the eastern? No, it was the southern entrance. We went in through the south, explored that, hung out in the valley a little bit, exited through the west, camp because you can't camp the way we camp in the.
Did we do Dewey Point that first day?
No, this is the second day.
What did we do the first day?
I think it was just about getting our bearings.
No, the first day we did that hike up high.
Where we could see El Cap?
Yeah.
That was day 1?
I think so. Because we got there late. We got there late at night.
So we saw the valley.
Oh,
you're right. No, you know what? You're right. We saw the valley before we went into the valley because we went to Dewey Point where we ended up. I chatted with that guy.
And that was a long hike. That was like 8 miles.
It was a solid hike. So we did that.
And it was a lot of
And it was
an
amazing view of El Cap, like face on, like, I don't even know how far the distance is from, like, really cool. But it was.
And it was way far down. It was scary.
It was one of the sheerest and highest cliffs I've ever been on.
Yeah. It made me really nervous.
I think it might have been the sheerest and the highest cliff I've been on. Like, total dropout.
And there wasn't, like, a lot of the cliff.
No.
Like, when we go to McAfee, it's like there's a lot. You're not, like, on a point. And this felt
and
like
there's a lot of people out there, which sort of in some way, like,
makes you feel safer.
It makes you feel like this is a more managed space, whereas this was very wild.
I know, and I kept thinking, like, what if the rock just breaks?
I had that sensation. I felt that in my body when I was going to the edge of it.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. And then we drove through the valley, and then we explored, to finish this point, we explored the different regions with intention while we were in Yosemite instead of, okay, so here's the thing that people do when they come to Yosemite. I wanted to see the different regions, and we ended up going to a spot which apparently John Muir, who was instrumental in like making Yosemite what it was, we ended up in the Hathatchee region, which was in the northwest, and that was apparently, someone on the trail told me, Muir called that Little Yosemite because it had structures that were similar. It had a big dam, so like another creek or river, whatever.
I think that was probably a river. It was big.
It was big because it was dammed.
But it was also wide.
Because it was dammed. And so, like, when you create a dam, it, like, fills out a big lake.
Okay, well, it looked like a river.
But it had similar features. Like, if you were to reflect back in your mind, it had the waterfall, much like the Upper Yosemite Falls.
With, like,
it
the
had,
big rocks.
It had the dome. It had, like a half dome sort of structure. And then it had like a sheer wall that was almost like El Cap. So it was very much a Little Yosemite.
It was really pretty.
Yeah. I swam in the waterfalls. Apparently you're not supposed to do that.
I thought you weren't going to tell anyone.
Well, if anybody on the National Park Service listens to my podcast.
I pushed you. I said, I don't think you're supposed to do this. It said not to get in the water.
Yeah.
And you said, this water's different.
I had a different interpretation of the rules. And then we went to Tahoe right after that.
Wait, no, you didn't tell them about our other hike.
Which was?
The lake. That was like at the top of the mountain.
Oh, Sunrise Lake.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah. I woke up. So
oh, my gosh.
I downloaded this map.
It was an easy hike.
I downloaded a map. A friend of a friend recommended this map. And it's an app called Avenza, Avenza. And it's really useful because you can get a lot of free maps that are pretty detailed and clear, and they have hiking trails and good roads. And when we've been out of service, I've been able to like manage. Like today, for example, we had no service, so I didn't have Google Maps at my disposal, but I had downloaded the map for this region.
Yeah.
The only problem is that it doesn't have topography on it, and what topography means is topographic lines are just lines on a map that show you the elevation. And if you know that, okay, this hike starts at 5,000 feet and it ends at 7,200 feet.
You can see your elevation.
You know you're going to have like a really tough hike. You're going to gain 2,200 feet, which is pretty drastic. I think we probably gained like 15.
I think it was like 1,700 maybe.
Okay, so it was close.
No, or maybe it was 1,250. It was something like that.
Either way, it was tough, and it was like a 2.5 mile one way.
3 miles. I think it was 3 miles total one way.
Mm-hmm.
But the beginning was pretty flat, and the end was pretty flat. But like the middle.
But being from the East Coast, you think about lakes in a different way than they think about it in the West Coast.
I never thought about a lake being at the top of a mountain.
Lakes are pools at the bottom of a mountain where creeks and rivers.
Was at the top of a
this
mountain.
Was at the top because it's all glacier melt. That's like how glacier and snow melt.
Aaron, I think you read the map wrong. I don't think there's going to be a lake here.
I mean, I knew there was a lake. I just didn't know how hard it would be to get to it.
And then we saw a duck.
And I woke up at yeah, we saw a duck. We saw a duck, and I was like, well, ducks wouldn't be up here.
How did a duck get up here?
I was like, there's a lake. And you're like, no, that's not true.
There's not.
And I'm like, no, you'll see it. If we can see a duck from here, there's definitely a lake nearby.
But we got up at like 5. You got up at 5:30.
I got up at 5.
Yeah.
And drove, and we were for about 35, 40 minutes. Took you about 15 minutes to get going.
So I got going at like 6.
We hit the trail at 6. And then it was a very challenging hike.
But we were not
ready. I almost went out in sweatpants and Crocs because I thought that I was like,
it's just a couple
miles.
Like,
oh, it's a couple miles. It's like, I think it's gonna be flat.
It's a lake. And I was thinking, okay, well, a lake. We're just gonna like walk up to this lake and see the sunrise.
I saw other people like strapping up, like putting boots and stuff on.
We didn't even bring food. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
I'm gonna reset this video real quick.
Okay. So we made it to the top and we saw the lake and it was really pretty. It was great. And then we had the rest of the day and we just hung out in front of another really cool lake.
Where did we go?
We went just like down.
Oh, we went. That's when we went to Maya Lake.
Yeah, to Maya Lake.
Or Temaye or something. Right, it was something roughly like that. And we were there for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
6 to 8 hours. Had lunch. Took a nap. I swam in the lake.
Where did we end up? We got that free water.
Oh yeah.
That free
when
water
we left the park.
We got the free. We left. We got the free water.
Mm-hmm.
We got gas. We got dog food. We have like these checklists when we leave places of like things that we have to get accomplished to get to the next spot.
Yeah.
And then
because you don't know when you're gonna have gas. You don't know when you're gonna have water. You don't know when you're gonna find.
The dogs had a couple of days where they had fancy.
Yeah, I was
food.
making like extra rice.
Like 24 hours.
And mixing it up with their dog food to stretch out their dog food.
And then a peanut butter snack.
And they had some peanut butter snacks.
They were sad once we got dog food again. You've been putting oil on Naisha's dog food to get him to eat it.
Yeah, a little olive oil.
He's a baby.
That's a common thing. People do that.
Okay, but anyways, we got to the hot spring that you found.
Oh yeah.
Which was so crazy and so cool.
Really legit hot springs.
It was awesome. It was amazing.
And then we were like hanging out. We were hanging out in the hot springs, like bubbling it up, enjoying it. Like sun is maybe an hour into the sky.
That night was really nice too.
The camp spot was nice as well. And then so we're hanging out. It's like every bit at 9:30 in the morning, and a bunch of recent college grads, roughly 8. And this is the thing. So like we were watching some stand up, and this guy made this point. This guy Nate Bargatze, he's really funny stand up, and he made this point. He's like, when you turn 40, you realize that everyone's younger than you. But when you're in your 30s, you think everyone's the same age as you.
Everyone's our age, and they're not. They're like, "What's this old lady doing?"
And those people were definitely 10 years younger than us.
Oh yeah. As soon as we left, I was like, "They're drinking, and it's 9 a.m."
It's 9 a.m. But in the moment, I was like, "Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?" Like I was just like ready to be their friend.
Like,
I was like,
friends.
"Hey, what's up, y'all? Like, glad y'all made it." And they're like brought a case of seltzer waters with them.
I think is what they had.
Whatever they had. And then, but yeah, no judgment. They're doing their thing. They're on vacation and they're doing it their way.
One girl did say, I can't commit to one right now. So she shared one. And I was like, well,
okay.
At least you're being responsible.
Okay.
It is 9 a.m. Maybe commit to like a glass of water.
Yeah.
Or a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I mean, those have water in them.
Okay. You said that about the lady that was carrying an RC Cola too.
I mean, RC Cola is predominantly water.
Oh my gosh, I can't with you.
I'm not a soda drinker.
So the hot springs were amazing. I scrubbed the sand on my face. Like I gave myself a mud mask, a natural mud mask.
Mm-hmm.
It smelled highly like egg farts.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been working.
I mean, it was stinky.
It was so stinky.
It was stinky, and you don't smell it until you put it on your face.
And then you're like, ugh.
Because you're in the bath and it's obviously, it's like
it smells,
it's sulfuric
but you get used
and
to
it's
it.
springs and it's just like a natural.
It's not horrible.
No, it's not like Yellowstone.
But as soon as
you
put
walk
it
through
on your
Yellowstone,
face,
you're like, oh, this whole place stinks. And when
Yeah,
you go
we've
through
gotta find
the
good
geysers in Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Well, that's the other point. Like that's one of the things. So like constant iterations of travel in different ways continues to teach me different things about how to do it properly. And so the downloading of the maps and like actually looking at the maps and taking like 30 minutes and like perusing the maps, that's been really useful. And then when you look at these national parks, there are reasons that the national park isn't like there's a reason that Yosemite National Park isn't just Yosemite Valley. But when people think of Yosemite National Park, they think of the valley and they think about that one cool spot. And so if you have the wherewithal to know that there's way more to do than just what is the thing to do there, and you look at things as quadrants of a park.
I want you to do that for our next legs, so that's why I wanted you to look at the schedule, because you're really good at that. So we're doing that after the podcast, because I did the podcast, so now you do the schedule.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
Relationships are about give and take.
Give and take. Well, what do you want to do differently on the schedule? What are you proposing?
I don't want to do anything differently. We just gave ourselves we only gave ourselves 3 days for Tetons, Yellowstone, and Jackson, which I feel like we might want
people
4 or
talk
5
a lot about
days
Jackson,
there.
and Jackson is cool, but it's not like necessarily what you and I are trying to do right now.
Cool thing, right?
Tetons are cool. Well, it depends on what you want to do. So
But are we only going to want 1 day in Yellowstone, I guess is my question.
I think you and I will want more days in Yellowstone.
So I think
because the Tetons are really cool to see, but you're not going mountain biking with me.
So I think we need to move some days.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to look at. And we need to look at where we actually want to stop on the coast of Oregon and what we want to do.
Yeah.
We need to look at what the campsites look like and what we want to do around there and how long we want. So we just need to we've been thinking about the trip in segments. I think we really need to think
We're in another leg here.
Yeah, I think we need to think about this leg, our coast leg, and get it completely good to go. And then we need to think about our Wyoming leg.
Yeah.
So we just need to look at it and make sure we have what we want when we want it.
Yeah, I think we'll be good.
Also,
we'll look at it.
Also because there's a really long drive between Crater Lake and Wyoming. It's 10 hours. It's really long. So we need to see we just need to look at it. We just need to get our heads on straight. It's a rest day.
Yeah, I feel good with just rolling with it. I think we'll be good.
I know you do, kid.
We've been cruising pretty solidly.
Yes, but what I'm saying is I really liked how we had enough time in Yosemite, and you had mapped out our hikes. I really liked that.
I did too, and I think that that is almost an exception if we don't intentionally make the other choices so the reason that Yosemite was as accessible to us is because we're like, okay, here's 3 days for Yosemite.
So that's what I'm trying to do with the legs, next couple of legs, is make sure we have the time in the places that we want to have the time.
Yeah, I'm into
that you can do that.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm into that.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the other things I've been thinking about, and we tried to bring this up with Tucker, and...
Yeah, so after the hot springs, we saw Tucker in Tahoe.
Right, yeah. So we went to Tahoe, saw Tucker and his wife Lindsay, and had a lot of fun with them. Tried to record a podcast, decided to completely bail on that.
We had good Greek food on the lake.
Had lovely Greek food with some highly seasoned fries that were tasty.
Good seasoned
I enjoyed the seasoning. My fingers were a bit seasoned as well.
Dusty?
They were quite dusty.
I kept getting on my shirt.
I know. And I wasn't fitting to
I was
sop up my fingers.
You know how I feel about that.
You don't like it.
Don't lick your fingers around me, y'all. Creeps me out.
Don't do it. But then
Who does that?
One of the conversations that I was trying to bring up in the podcast is because my friend Tucker he works in the hospitality industry, and he's been able to live in really cool spots all over the country, specifically ski towns, doing what he does. And I was thinking what it must be like to live in a town where a majority of the people that you see on a regular basis are transient. And we couldn't find a way to clearly articulate it, but one of the big takeaways, just to like boil down what was worthwhile from that podcast, other than just like good friends having a good time by a fire, if I were to boil down what was valuable from that conversation, is that when people explore, so there's two things. One thing I learned, we sort of like shared and conversed about, and then another one I asked the question. I don't think I got an answer, but and I'll ask you the same question. But the first takeaway was that when you go into spaces that aren't yours, to actually treat them as if they are, so you're not trashing spots when like you go to them. And I sort of noticed that last year when we were traveling, going into some of, like, for example, Leadville. I really like resonated with me in Leadville, because Leadville, Colorado is a really small town that has a very, mild level of tourism, and the tourism that comes through there is like athletes typically, because it's really well known for a big the Leadville 100, which is a big race that goes through there, and then there's a lot of equestrians and mountain bikers. So it's not like when you go to the Grand Canyon, everybody's like, oh, there's a big mountain, let's go look at it, or a big hole in the mountains, let's go look at it. It's more of a community of people that are trying to do something when they go somewhere. And we were in some gift shops, and I had walked in because you go to different spots and people aren't wearing masks, even last year. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're not wearing a mask, like, I feel comfortable. Doors are open, windows are open. And then we walked into a gift shop, and someone asked, like, hey, do you mind putting on a mask? And then I got into like a 5-minute conversation with her about how much sense it makes for a tourist town to be really strict about those things, because you have so many transient people coming in and out of town. And that reflects on the conversation with Tucker, which was, people are coming into town. It's like, you don't just leave your trash there.
Yeah, like
you don't spit gum on the sidewalk in front of your courthouse. Like, don't do it here. So that was one big takeaway from that conversation. Yeah. And then the second idea that I've been playing around with and thinking and like really trying to figure out, especially the Grand Canyon catalyzed this question for me, and I don't know what the answer is for me yet, so that's why I want to explore it, which is, how accessible should we make the out of doors to people? Because I think the inherent nature of beautiful spaces in the out of doors dictates a certain level of competency, and I think that we've made things extremely accessible, and they should be for those who are in a position of not having the physical ability to explore space. They should still have the right to see beautiful spaces. But then you walk around, you see all these people who are, sucking down 2 liters RC Cola, and they have a holster pocket full of Doritos.
But I think it's definitely important that, like, we make nature accessible to all. Because it's, like, it's important for people to be able to see these things. And, I mean, it's inspiring in ways. Like, that, like, riding a carnival ride is not the same.
But then you see people in that, like, some of the people, like, whoopsies. Some of the people are genuinely impressed with what they're seeing, like, in Yosemite Valley. And then other people, I'm definitely projecting what I'm thinking. But they're experiencing it like Busch Gardens.
Yeah.
They're experiencing like, oh, this is another carnival ride. And it's like, no, this is the foundation of this planet, this beautiful ecology.
People are always going to think different than you. And I think part of that
think differently
is, like,
than me?
Well, differently than one. Like, differently than all of us. People have differing thoughts. But, like, when we were in Yosemite, we had done that really cool hike, and then we, like, went to a point to, like, look at it, but it was just, like, a point of interest where, like, it was very accessible. Like, you
could drive up, pull-off,
and you could walk up, and you could see, like, really cool stuff. And, like, there were girls, like, and there was, like, a bachelorette party, and, like, they were all pretty drunk, and like, the girls were wearing, like, things that you would wear to, like, a nightclub.
Dudes in baggy tank tops and swim trunks, but they're on top of a mountain.
Which is, like, wasn't our vibe.
Right.
And wasn't most of, like, the people who were exploring that space. That wasn't their vibe either. But, like, I think that the benefit of having it accessible to everyone outweighs, like, you're gonna get people who are dressed like they're going to a nightclub.
But what is the benefit of making something like the Yosemite Valley accessible to everyone?
Because there are people who are not physically capable of seeing it.
But is that a majority or a minority of people? So if you were to reflect, so this, I'm honestly just trying to figure this out for myself.
As like a first grade teacher, and I think as like someone who is going to be a mother someday, and we don't know like what capabilities our child will have.
No, but see, this is my point, babe, is that the accessibility that the National Park Service has put out, I think, was intended for people with varying abilities and needs, but I think that it's been mostly used by people who are too lazy to actually go see nature.
But they're still able to. But isn't it better for them to be able to see nature?
Not if they're looking at it as Busch Gardens. Like, not if they're looking at it as, like, another amusement, another... I think it's so much bigger than that.
I think it's how do we educate people to enjoy those spaces the correct way.
For example, how many times have we been in drought-stricken states
and seen fires
that are just so like, mad. There's no water, the rivers are dry,
I mean, you're good.
The lakes are 20 feet shallow, and then you see people burning a fire on national forest land.
Where do we camp? So if this person starts a fire,
so if this
we can get out.
If this forest fire starts, at least I won't die.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. It might be. It definitely comes from a place of privilege, like being a able-bodied person. But I also like. I have an understanding of what disability looks like and how people with disability. I mean, everybody shows up in a different way.
I think it's less like taking it away and more of educating others to enjoy it properly.
Yeah, because it's not about the people with disabilities. It's not. That's my point.
So it's just like, how do we teach everyone to enjoy nature without hurting nature? Like,
yeah, and if you make it really easy for people, then you'll get a lot of people who just don't give a damn.
But
and they'll roll through and they'll leave a diaper on the sidewalk. And like, think of how many national forests we've been in, and everything is just filled with trash. It's terrible. Like, it should be. I don't know. I mean, this is like.
But I do I want to be able to. When
this is our land.
75.
Yeah.
And we're not going on big hikes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to be able to still enjoy the national parks. Like, think of your grandparents.
100%.
Were still able to. They were not doing the things that we were doing, but like
100%.
they were able to enjoy them. So I don't think making it harder is the answer.
But what I'm not necessarily advocating for that. I'm just like exploring the idea to see what I think about it. What's not what I said?
You said make it more difficult to.
I never said we should make it harder. What I'm trying to figure out is, should it be as easy? Well, I guess it's semantic, but
difficult is the same thing as hard. It's a synonym.
Yeah, so this might be we're arguing about language. What I'm trying to figure out is the actual idea, which is young people, elderly, and people with disabilities that don't allow them to access like intense hikes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the accessibility objective, like probably having something to do with the ADA.
Yeah, which is crucial.
Which is crucial. I'm an advocate. I'm as a public school teacher, I'm a firm advocate for ADA policies. But I think that what we see is so much dis-ease being created and manipulated by corporations that has created people that are not necessarily capable in their bodies because they've been over marketed to and they've been put in societal norms that exacerbate health issues. That's one issue. The second issue is we have a social media landscape that creates people who commodify everything. And so we have people who are, and like, I'm making a podcast right now.
Yeah, you're commodifying.
And I post these pictures of these interesting things that I'm doing on my social media account.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, little buddy.
He's just hanging out.
I got one too.
He thinks I'm a flare.
I got one too right here
by
my
gosh,
pooter.
We have matching ones. Mine stayed. I'm calm.
I just think that much like, for example, access to healthcare is that's just a thing people should have in an industrialized society because it's humane. I think we all show it, meaning that the health and wellness of people should not be a commodity. It should be a national, what's the term I'm looking for? It should be like a national
standard?
No, not national standard. It's like the health and wellness of the population is like a national asset.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it should be, it shouldn't be something that's commodified and sold. You shouldn't be healthier because you have more money. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I also, and so in the same way, I don't think that we should be taking beautiful outdoor spaces that are the infrastructure of all life on this planet and turn them into a commodity. And so when I see people who are spending no time to actually like learn the plants, like think of how many, like we're like, oh, we got to identify that bird. Or like, is this actually bear poop or is this something else? Like we're actually trying to learn and understand the spaces that we're going through. And like, I'm not trying to say like, oh, we're doing it the right way and everybody else is screwing it up. What I'm saying is people are coming into outdoor spaces and the cost of that is that they're taking a dump every day. And that dump is going somewhere in these natural spaces. It's either going into a pit toilet or some sort of infrastructure that can fill, like, it's like you have hundreds of thousands of people going into these outdoor spaces that don't actually value the outdoor spaces, and they haven't taken the time to understand how can I maneuver through this space.
I think my question
in a
is
light
how
way.
Do we teach them to value it? Like, what education?
And I don't necessarily think that we teach them to value it by making it easier for them to get there.
But if it wasn't easier, would they ever experience it? That's the thing. Like, I guess.
But even by experiencing it, to what depth are they actually understanding the importance of it?
The more you experience like nature's beauty, the more you get like a taste for it, and you're like, oh, I want to see more of this, and I want to see more of, like, I used to hike like a mile, and I'd be like, that's good. Yeah. But then you get like more of a taste for it, and you're like, okay, I want to see cooler stuff, which means I need to hike more miles. Maybe
I'm being cynical.
Maybe a little bit.
Do you think I'm being cynical?
You can't see anything with your glasses because they don't work.
Yeah.
Those Aaron sunglasses, guys, he can't see anything. I need you all to know. You probably can't see me.
I can see you. I'm like recording over old podcast. Luckily, it's already posted on the internet. So
why did you do that?
Because I can't figure out how to set up two microphones, so I just reuse the same template over and over again. I can't remember how to do it.
No.
I mean, I could figure it out, but it's just like it takes
too much time.
12 minutes of fiddling to figure out like, oh, I got to set this up, I got to do this. I have to use aggregate devices. The cool thing about the podcast is that it's taught me a lot of different things about how to use different pieces of technology that are a bit more technical than your average, like, let me take a picture and post it and like put a filter on it.
And post it.
How about Bo Burnham?
So
White woman's Instagram.
Oh my goodness.
If you guys haven't seen Bo Burnham inside.
And he's like holding the pumpkins.
There are. What do you think that is?
What?
Bo Burnham's special inside.
It's like a social commentary. Like it's.
And what comment is he making?
That we're crazy.
That we.
Yeah, as a human species, have become insane.
And why are we in, what do you,
I think he's looking at technology, like it's gotten, particularly social media, I think.
Yeah.
Is what he's looking at. And just like, yeah, how we've gotten so inside, like, like what it is, like we're not out in the world. We're insular?
Insular?
Is that a word?
Solipsistic would be the word. I like that word. Solipsistic.
Yeah. That's like inside.
Self-focused and internal.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. We don't communicate the way that we used to, I guess.
This is why I like doing a podcast. Even though it's not, my social media following is bigger than my podcast following. Yeah. By like orders of magnitude. Not orders of magnitude, but like by multiples.
Hot on the gram.
I'm so hot on the gram. Speaking of which, you want to talk about the Instagram we saw earlier today?
No.
Okay. No, I just thought I'd bring up. But the thing I really enjoy about podcasts is you can get a thorough experience of what a person is.
Yeah.
Like we're 50 minutes into the podcast. We had sleepiness, we had distractedness, we had slight bits of boredom, we had mild levels of confrontation between you and me.
Are we confrontational?
I don't feel confrontational.
I feel confrontational.
Well, me. And so like you see a human in their whole on a podcast. Whereas
they're like actually talking. It's not just like
you can't pretend.
No, it's so
you can't
easy
pretend
to
like this is what I look like, or like these are the things that I spent 20 minutes writing 4 sentences for my caption.
So crazy.
Yeah. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I
have too. I'm just to admit, like I've spent some time. Yeah.
I don't.
But it's like it's so manufactured. Whereas when people are just talking freely,
you, like, are a real person.
And really, like, I know that the video made you uncomfortable in the first one that we did, and like to the point that I made, reflecting on other podcasts, like you just get more and more comfortable the more and more you do it.
The talking's easier now. The video is still like.
Hello, video.
I know it's watching me. And
Luckily,
I don't like it.
I have 14 subscribers on YouTube, so.
Still, I think about those 14.
But the nature of audio is that you really can't pretend for an extended period of time. People will pick up. We're so smart. Like, our intuitive brains are very tuned in and dialed in to what the human experience is and whether someone's trying to, like, pull the wool over our eyes or whether they're actually being legit. And the thing that I find really interesting is the video component. And even though, like, way more people listen to this, specifically on Spotify. I talk about this like every third podcast, the fact that people listen to my podcast on Spotify, because I have, until I started recording a podcast, I didn't listen to any podcasts on Spotify.
I don't listen to podcasts
Almost
on Spotify.
all of the people
and like some of my favorite ones
that listen to my podcast are on Spotify, which is crazy. But the point I was trying to make is you have audio, but then I post it on YouTube, even though like nobody's listening to it on YouTube, because you see a human being human in the world, and then you get the opportunity to like notice what their tics and movements are. And I have this music playing right now. You think we're wrapping here, Katie?
I think so.
I might go longer.
Oh, okay. What are you gonna talk about?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
But I might keep going.
Maybe you do like a different one.
We got time. You think I should just record a different one?
Yeah.
A solo cast?
I think that's a good idea.
And then I just have one to burn?
Yeah, I think that's a better idea. Because, like, people, an hour is good.
I think you're right.
I'm smart. And also, like, you have to help me with the calendar and stuff because we got to do our next plans. But I don't mind if you do this first. It's okay. Just as long as you promise you'll do that with me.
Yep. I promise.
Okay. Can I listen to my book on tape?
Yeah, I'll close the door. Let me look at my notes, make sure we didn't miss anything.
Yep, we got Tahoe, and now we're here.
I wrote Yosemite.
I heard something that sounded like a snake.
I wrote Tahoe. Well, there's probably snakes out here.
Aaron,
you're
in the bushes.
Sketchy Road to Redwood National State Park.
Oh, yeah, we stayed at a really sketchy... Like, Naish hated it. He had...
Oh, the campground wasn't sketchy.
Yes, it was.
No.
It was semi. Some of the people there...
Did you get out of the van?
No.
So then how do you know if it's sketchy?
I didn't leave the van. Naish had a bad feeling. Mm-hmm. And when Naish has bad vibes, like, he is the judger of good character.
I also wrote Searching for Bigfoot. I didn't get to finish that point.
We're not searching for Bigfoot.
There are cars rolling by. And they're stirring up all the dragonflies.
Is that motorcycles?
Or a bunch of motorcycles.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
we drove
through campground and then he instantly calmed down.
Yep. He's a good doggo. Very intuitive. I'm going to touch on this note in the next podcast I record. You keep like interrupting me every time I try to make a point.
Say it.
No, it's fine. You're right.
It's about Bigfoot. Go ahead.
No, Bigfoot's real, and that's where I'm going to leave the podcast.
Because you want to talk about it on your other podcast, so I don't say Bigfoot's not real?
In the solo cast. This one will post on Monday. And the solo cast, I'll post on Thursday.
And then we'll have another one.
I'll put them both together, and then we'll put together another one on Monday. We need to do one. So, like, the cool thing is,
we're actually near the coast right now.
But you can't really see it. We need to, like, actually find a view. That's what I was trying to do with this one, is, like, find a view.
It's kind of a view.
Because at the beginning of this project, I promised that I would be cutting videos and putting them in the front of. And I've done zero of that. Maybe I do that tonight. Maybe I do a little bit of that. It's only 4:00, so we got some time. So, I'm really grateful that you've gotten more comfortable doing this.
Yeah,
and
now
that you feel more natural. And this is.
Now I'm confronting.
In fact, you felt so natural today that you interrupted me so many times.
I'm sorry. And to Aaron's mother, I'm sorry that I interrupted him.
My mom listens to my podcast, guys.
And she's like, stop interrupting him.
She didn't say that.
I can't help it.
She didn't say that.
Yeah. Well, she said to let you finish your thoughts. But sometimes I just think I hear your thoughts so much that sometimes I won't interrupt you anymore.
You don't have to. No, Katie. The thing about this is,
like,
I've gotten fairly competent with this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Especially like doing it solo, but then I've also like done a handful of interviews where I feel comfortable like actually pulling things out of people and contributing. And this is the 3rd podcast you've ever done.
Yeah.
And this is the 30th, so I've done 10 more of these than you. So it's very different.
And sometimes it feels to me like we're just talking, and like when you talk, sometimes you talk over people accidentally.
It's not just talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're just talking, like sometimes you talk over people accidentally, and like you get back to a point, and like, yeah.
Well, it's sort of both. I don't know what it is. That's why I'm doing it. Like, I'm trying to figure out what podcasting is. You know what I mean? Because I think it's a valuable medium, and I think that it's also very enriching for me to have the opportunity to speak freely.
Yeah.
And not to say that, and that's not insinuating that I felt like, I was just sort of like busting your chops. Like, I don't think, you did interrupt me a couple times, but like, I don't.
What did I interrupt you up on, though?
The Bigfoot thing.
I'm sorry, and you really wanted to talk about Bigfoot.
It's okay, it's for the next podcast.
No, let the world know what you think.
No, because we're at 56 minutes, babe.
But I felt like you talked about Bigfoot. You talked about how when we were in the woods, you thought back to that episode. I just don't know where else you're going with Bigfoot. It's like when we were doing Meow Wolf, and I was like, we've talked about Meow Wolf.
Do you want to talk about Meow Wolf
now? No. Oh, no, Bigfoot's your new Meow Wolf. Okay. I love you.
I love you too, babe. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to do this with you.
Are you going to kick me off?
Off the podcast?
Yeah, like, are you not going to want me back?
No. No, never.
Okay.
You have an open invitation.
Okay, good.
Anytime.
For the next 3 weeks.
After doing it with Tuck was that yesterday? 2 days ago? I was thinking, like, do I want to interview friends?
I don't know if you do. Because I'm very, like, PG and, like, PC. I'm all those P's, G's, C's. I'm all those things.
I'm definitely not anti-controversial.
You are not, and I am.
And I also don't know if I shouldn't be cussing on the podcast.
I don't think you should be. I think it should be PG. I think it should be for all. Just like the parks.
But I don't think that a few cuss words in there. I don't know. I got to think about it. I'll talk about it on the next podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I'll explore the idea.
I'm going to be missing out on something.
Do you want to stay out here and just watch me while I do it?
No. I want to go, I don't know. We were going to have soup for dinner, but now I'm thinking maybe I should bake tofu since I have time, but.
And it's a cool temperature.
Yeah, but soup would be nice with a cool temperature, too. And we're literally never going to eat that soup because you are hashtag soup's not a meal, and I'm hashtag soup is a meal.
Not a meal.
TJ? Soup's a meal.
What did he say?
He said he's on Team Soup's not a meal.
Well, clearly.
If you're on Team Soup's
the camera's dead.
No, I'm looking at. If you're on Team Soup's a meal, I need support.
DM her private Instagram account.
Don't. I never use it.
They can't DM you. It's private.
Okay, fine.
Thanks for doing this, babe.
Thanks.
I love you.
I love you too. I'm going to work on not interrupting you, I promise.
You don't have to.
I am.
You don't have to. That wasn't a criticism.
Okay. The next episode, everyone will learn all about Bigfoot.
Are you going to claim up on the next one?
Yeah,
because you think you're going to interrupt me? I don't think you were interrupting me.
Okay.
I mean, you did interrupt me a couple times, but that's fine.
But isn't that just nature?
It's part of conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're going to get, you and I will get more, think of the, what you need to do is actually listen to the podcast we've recorded.
But I don't like hearing myself talk.
And then you'll have a gauge of how much better these podcasts are.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you.
There it is, guys. Another one in the books. Going to be heading to the coast of Oregon here soon, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to sit down and do another podcast. I got a little bit of energy. It's only about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. and Milady's going to be making some tofu for us. So shoot me an email, hit me up online, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Do what you got to do. But I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you on the next one.